there friends, Mark Crilley here, back with another drawing tutorial. I've had a lot of people asking me for a tutorial on body proportions, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I think what happens a lot of times is you draw your character's head and you got that right, and then when it comes time to add the body, somehow the body's too big or too small or it's just not connecting right. So that's what this one's going to be all about, trying to draw a body that's roughly in the right proportions to this head. Now, when you're doing something like this, it's good to get a sense of how big the head is to begin with. So I'm pulling out the trusty ruler here and finding that as far as my drawing goes, this guy's head is about an inch, maybe a little more than an inch tall. I'm not going to count the hair because that's coming up off the top of the head. So I got about an inch maybe and a little more as the measurement of the head. Now I'm going to pull the camera back and then show you, talk a little bit about how many heads tall this character needs to be. Okay, so we've pulled back, and before we do anything else, I want to show you a little study that I did comparing actual human proportions to manga body proportions. This is pretty close to accurate anatomy over here. A lot of times they'll tell you that the real human male is 8 heads tall. That seems a little tall to me, a little idealized. This guy is about 7.5 heads tall. Manga proportions are, the head is much larger in proportion to the body. I found that as I looked at things like Inuyasha and other characters like that, I was coming up with about 6 3/4 heads tall. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be working with here today. 6.5, 6 3/4, somewhere around there. Let me get this out of the way, and what I'm going to be doing is taking that measurement that I did before, about a little more than an inch from head to toe. I'm going to draw a grid. I'll do this all in time lapse because it would be incredibly boring otherwise. And that will give us the kind of framework that we can begin to do the drawing with. So I'm going to go ahead, kick it into time lapse, and we'll be right back. Alright, so with the red pencil I have drawn this kind of grid system here, 6 and about a half, a little more maybe, heads tall, and also got them, perfect squares, so I've got guidelines over here as well, and that'll give me some help when it comes time to decide how wide the shoulders should be and where the arms are going to go and so forth. Let me begin then by pulling out the black Prismacolor, as always, and starting to get some sense of where the shoulders are going to go and different things like that. My idea is to have his stance coming down on one foot pretty strongly. That's going to go right along this center line here. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of indicate a flat, slightly triangular shape down here of where that foot's going to go. And then maybe just in a loose way start to shade something in for where that one leg is going to go. Now, you got the 3 boxes here. At the bottom of the 3rd box, just a little bit above it, is maybe where your waist is going to be. The shoulders coming in, maybe 1/4 or 1/3 of the way down through this 2nd box. And then I can start to, my style anyway, to move forward into getting a little more of the basic idea of where his body's going to go. These are all just rough guidelines. I'm not worried about getting everything in exactly the right spot at this stage. But one of the legs, just to make it a more interesting pose, is going to come all the way down here, and maybe the heel is going to reach the bottom, maybe a little below the bottom of that box. It'll give him sort of confident fighter's stance. And so I've got that there coming off to the side. The neck, I'll hold off on the neck. I think you can get to that a little bit later on. But let's start to get some rough sense of where the arms are going to go. I want this, again, I want him to look very strong, this guy. So I'm going to make an arm that kind of comes out to the side like he's getting ready for a fight. And one thing when you're drawing the arms, it's always a trick to know where the hands are going to be. Certainly they're coming below the waist, probably about midway through the thigh, His arm is bent a little bit here, so we're not getting that. If it was coming all the way down, it might be a little more like midway through the thigh. Let's indicate where the knees are going to be. Like I said, one of the legs is coming forward, so that knee is coming near the bottom of this. But what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th box here. And then this other one is kind of back a little further, so that knee is going to be a little higher up. I'm just doing some circles here, so hopefully this shows up. That's the problem with these videos, doing the rough guidelines. No one can see these things, so I'm going to make it a little darker just in case, because everyone leaves comments saying, I can't see anything. So I'm going to just darken this up, making it considerably darker than I would normally with rough guidelines, because I would want to be able to erase them. The Prismacolor really cannot be erased, and that's why generally I would keep it lighter. But just to make sure you can see in this video, I'm going to darken it up a little. Again, let's get another arm in here. This time it's coming, the shoulder, the edge of the shoulder is about 1/3 in from that box. And I'm going to bring this arm out a little bit, like he's getting, like I said, ready for a fight. Get this fist can kind of break out of that extra line. And this gives me at least a basic sense of where things are going to start to fall as I draw this figure. Let me zero in and start to do bit by bit different sections. Otherwise, I think it gets a little boring to watch from a whole distance the way I do these things. So let's zoom in for a closer view of the upper part of the body. Okay, well, I'm going to start working on the shoulders for this character. This guy's a very strong character, so I'm going to really try to indicate some muscles on him. And for me, drawing body proportions, a lot of it is sort of trial and error, and searching for these lines, and putting them down, erasing them, and so forth, until I get them where they just look right to me. And I should just say that I'm no great expert in anatomy. That's part of the reason why I put off doing this video for so long, because I get it wrong routinely. But since so many people had asked for a video like this, I feel like I really ought to give it my best shot. So here's the shoulders. You saw that my framework there, I had just drawn this straight line. But as I go to do the real shoulders, like I said, he's very muscular, so I'm giving him these sort of muscles on the neck that are coming up in a slightly triangular slope kind of a way off of there. That line that I put in there originally, that rough horizontal line, can be used as a location for the collarbone, which artists I think make good use of, and to make the body look complete somehow. And if you look at photographs, it's pretty rare that someone's collarbone stands out as much as artists like to draw it. There's just something about getting these lines in here that helps a drawing look complete. And so that's why you'll see people do that a lot. I'm going to go ahead and get the muscular pecs in here without trying to make him look like too much of a bodybuilder. Using this, I got the first box, the second box as a guideline. I'm finding that the bottom line of his pecs here is kind of coinciding just a little bit with this line, maybe a little higher. And he's turning to the side a bit. So the actual line in the middle of his chest is probably going to come in around here. And I'm going to go ahead and start to indicate the muscles of the arms. Now, a lot of people, a lot of artists who are better at anatomy than I am, they really know these muscles well. They can tell you the names of them and so forth. I'm not one of those artists, sadly. I just have a sense that it breaks into a muscle here at the top of the shoulder, and then sort of a second group of muscles over here, lower down. And then people tend to put in a line here to sort of indicate a shadow maybe beneath that muscle at the top. Go ahead and shade in a little bit more here. And again, since I'm making him so muscular, I think this first line here that I had done as my rough guideline for the chest is probably not going to be big enough. I'm going to pull it back to make his chest look bigger and stronger. And then this one over here, maybe closer to where I really needed it to be to begin with, the lower part of the rib cage. Like I said, he's turning away from us, so this whole thing is kind of off to one side here. I'm going to just lightly indicate a rib cage. And maybe also get that second muscle going down here on the arm. And then I'm probably going to move the camera now and start focusing on other parts lower down the body. Alright, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do the two arms here. This is, you could spend a whole video on arms alone, so I'm not going to maybe get into that too much, but let's just say for now that there's a sort of a elongated triangular feeling coming down here on the forearms. And the way I'm going to do a very simplified version of a clenched fist here, creating a kind of a wide angle here for where the thumb is. And then this is kind of a nifty trick that I see people do a lot. They give the pointer finger knuckle extra emphasis, and then all the other knuckles can maybe just come back as a simple line. And sort of indicating the finger curved in on itself or bent in on itself, and I'm just going to draw a little bit of the thumb. Again, is this anatomically perfect? Probably not, but let's hope that it's good enough for the purposes of this video. And let's go move over now to this arm over here, kind of repeating what we've done over there. In a way, it sort of breaks into two parts. There's a more muscular area here at the top of the forearm, and then coming down to a narrower section at the wrist. This fist is going to be maybe a little more complicated. Hopefully I won't completely blow it. Get a kind of a ball here at the bottom of the fist. Try to get a thumb that's coming in to hold the fingers in place, for a good punch. And then you got the four fingers of the clenched fist coming in. And talk about how they fan out. In this case, they're sort of fanning in, maybe, to give you the sense of a clenched fist. Again, my apologies for not being the world's best anatomy guy if I'm getting this stuff wrong or it looks weird. That's because normally I would be erasing and starting over again and correcting things and so forth. But maybe that's enough for that part right now. Let's move on to the next part of the body. Okay, now drawing the thighs is maybe one of the easier parts of doing a drawing like this, so long as you get the width of it right. I'm trying to make this guy look strong, so I'm going to give him fairly wide, muscular thighs. I'm starting to look at this and feel that it wasn't wide enough to begin with, maybe, this first leg that I drew along the center line, so I'm going to widen it out a little. Hopefully it's not too late to do that. But I am sticking fairly close to where I said the knees were going to be, somewhere around the middle to the bottom of this fifth box. And then we can start to move on to the feet. In fact, I think I might just jump down to that and then with the lower legs. People have requested a video about feet, and I think I will do that for sure in an upcoming video. For now, let's just say that the foot in this position has a very triangular kind of a feeling to it. And I'm still using these guidelines here as a sense of how big the foot should be. It certainly should not be breaking out of this first, of this line over here. Otherwise, you're going to have too long of a foot. I'm trying to maybe retroactively thicken up the leg here, maybe a little thicker than what I originally was going to do, just to make him look stronger. And then let's go ahead and, like I said, do the foot first at the bottom. This is just my preference. Everyone finds their own ways of doing these things. Maybe I should move the camera a little, just a second. Just wanted to move the camera to make sure that I fit this into frame. So I'm doing the foot first, and like I said, I'm going to do another video probably that deals more with the anatomy of the foot in different positions and so forth. But this is sort of a classic superhero way of drawing the foot. It's a little hard to explain, but it does have a sort of a triangular section here that comes back and it sort of bends in around the heel. So much of this stuff is just practice and finding your own way that seems to work for you. The lower leg, kind of like the forearm, breaks into, seems to me, two parts, kind of thinner part near the ankle and the more muscular part here near the top. And believe it or not, we maybe are getting close to a usable body in proportion. Let me pull the camera back so you can see what I've got so far. Alright, so we've pulled back here. I've been adding some details here of clothing, a belt, a knife, different stuff like that, just to give you some ideas of how it would look once you've added clothing onto the character. Thanks so much for being patient with me. I know it's been a while since my last video. I finally got some paying work the other day, so you know how that goes. I had to focus on that. But I will never forget my YouTube subscribers, and always want to give a big shout out to those of you who have picked up Minky Falls, my manga series. I've heard from a lot of people in England, people all over the world, who have special ordered the series. I thank you for doing that, and I do hope that you found this video useful. Like I said, I got plenty more to do, like the one about feet and different stuff like that. Keep the suggestions coming, because I do want to make the kind of videos that you all want to see. So thanks again for watching these videos and for subscribing and all that good stuff. I do appreciate your support, and I will hopefully be back with another video for you real soon.